Well, I'm back. And as you can see, I survived the operation. I'm not even going to tell you what it was, but suffice it to say, a substantial portion of my brain has gone missing. I'm not saying they took it out during the operation, I'm saying they couldn't find it. But I don't want to get into that because that will lead to disparaging remarks about me. And I, as you know, can't handle that sort of thing. So, I've learned that much from Donald Trump. So I'm just going to talk briefly now because I'm still sort of in the recuperation stage of my life, which I understand. At this stage of my life, the recuperation stage doesn't last very long. So what, I say? Let's move on. So moving on, I heard today on one of these, on Fox News, which I listen to when I have absolutely nothing else to do with my life, and somebody was saying, well, they've got the goods on Biden now, ha 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 ha. And I said, oh my God. I'm surprised because I think that Joe Biden is probably one of the most honest politicians ever to serve in Washington. And if you've been following him like I have since the 60s, you know that's true. I mean, he was the only guy in Washington who never made any money from being a United States Senator. So, and after a while you get to be a very good judge of character when you've tried, I've tried I don't know how many hundred cases in 56 years as a trial lawyer. After a while you get a pretty good feel for who's honest and who isn't. Like, contrary to many people, I actually suspected that Donald Trump might have been dishonest when I knew him back when we were both in our 20s in Palm Beach. So they got him. I'm, what happened? I'm shocked. Well, here's what happened. Apparently, according to this witness who just testified the other day, and according to Jonathan Turley's his usual ridiculous analysis, Joe Biden lied when he said he never sat down and had dinner with Hunter and his nefarious cronies. And it turns out, according to this one individual, actually they were all having dinner at some restaurant in Washington, D.C. while Joe Biden was vice president. And Joe Biden and his wife stopped by this restaurant, sat down, that's the big thing, they sat down, exchanged a few pleasantries, and then left. So this shows that Joe Biden actually did sit down with these ne'er-do-wells. Now, that alone gets you nowhere. But this was Jonathan Turley's big deal. See, Biden's a liar. He said he never sat down. Well, how many times have I said I didn't sit down with somebody when I actually did because I didn't remember because it was insignificant? But that being the case, even if he did lie about that, it's a so what? What does it prove? And what Jonathan Turley left, I read his analysis, what he left out of his clever analysis was the fact that this same witness also testified that neither Joe Biden nor Hunter Biden received any kind of payouts from Burisma, the $5 million that they supposedly both received, that never happened. We know that Hunter Biden was drawing a salary as a member of the board, which was smelled to high heaven, but that didn't have anything to do with Joe. Joe didn't put him on the board. And this guy categorically denied that Joe Biden ever received a nickel. Jonathan Turley leaves all that out part. He just puts in this part about that he actually sat down at a table in a restaurant and said hello to a few people and then left. No evidence, and this guy also flat denied that Joe Biden ever discussed anything having to do with Burisma or any of Hunter Biden's business dealings with anyone, ever. Jonathan Turley left that out as well. Those two statements by that fellow completely blows apart what the Republicans were praying for, was that somebody would come in and take the limelight off of Donald Trump's nefarious misconduct and point the finger at Joe Biden, and this guy didn't do it. But today, we got a new revelation from somebody, I forget who it was. It was one of the women commentators on Fox News in the morning. And she said, well, now apparently the chairman of this committee, a person who has never said anything that turned out to be true, probably in his entire life, but certainly not during his chairmanship of this House committee, that he said that someone said that one of the people sitting at that table at that dinner had recently received a large financial payout from a Russian oligarch. And I'm waiting for the next yes, and then that money went to Joe Biden. No, that's the end of the story. some guy who was sitting at the table with some other people where Joe Biden said that had previously received a payout from some Russian oligarch. No indication how much, what it was for, who the oligarch was, what the hell that had anything to do with the Bidens. But boy, over there at Fox, they were thrilled because they had finally got something on Joe Biden. These people are just trying too hard. And I tell you what, if I were Republican, I'd be really worried because of what just happened with regard in Ohio with regard to the attempt to sabotage the upcoming in September or attempt to change the Constitution to include a constitutional right to an abortion, which incidentally was also signed into the California Constitution by Ronald Reagan, and incidentally was also signed into the New York Constitution by Governor Rockefeller, two prominent Republicans. So now they're trying to. This is on the ballot to change the Constitution of the state of Ohio to make abortions a constitutional right. So what they tried to do, these too clever by half Republicans, they must take an oath to be too clever by half. These too clever by half Republicans came up with, in the dead of night, we're going to do this. We're gonna, in the middle of August, when nobody's paying any attention to politics at all, they're just too busy counting the beads of sweat on the tops of their foreheads, along with Donald Trump, who looked like he fell out of a bathtub the other day, but I don't want to go into that. So they said, we'll sneak this in, we'll change the requirement from what it presently is to amend the Constitution. Only requires a majority of the vote. The popular vote, though, meaning a majority of the people have to vote for a constitutional amendment to change the Constitution of the state of Ohio, which has been done several times in the past with majority vote. To change that requiring 60% vote, so that would lessen the chances of this abortion rights provision being accepted into the Constitution. So, the phone is ringing. You know what? It's Donald Trump. Forget it. I'll call him back. Anyway, sorry, Donald. Don't worry. I'll call you. Yeah. So anyway. No, George. My friend George Santos, the congressman from Long Island, is here as usual, and he says he's going to go call Donald Trump for me. George, he doesn't take your calls. Nothing personal about this. I don't want to hurt your feelings. Now stop it, okay? Look, grown men don't sob in my studio, so go sob outside with Francois. The two of you can be sob sisters together. It would be very nice. But don't record it. It's not going to be a best-selling record. I know that today you're a best-selling rap singer, but I wouldn't include your tears of frustration and humiliation because Ronald Reagan. Donald Trump won't accept your call. But why are we talking about that anyway? Oh, because I got a call from Donald Trump. So here we are, folks. This is the very latest thing. Now we've got him dead to rights. Yes, there was a man sitting at a table, and this man had previously received money from some Russian, and therefore that proves that Joe Biden was on the take. Just a quick recap, and then I'm going to go because I'm getting exhausted, and I can tell by the way you're yawning over there that all of you are getting exhausted as well, but you'll sleep better. So, not because of a good conscience, I know you. So, the way this thing happened, and Hunter Biden is not my favorite person. So, Hunter, there was a lot of turmoil going on when Barack Obama was president, and in Ukraine, and they had a fellow there who was a Russian puppet, and he's extremely unpopular, and he finally got voted out of office, and then he tried to come back in again, and there were riots in the street, and he ran off to Moscow, and I think he's still there. So then Zelensky comes in, and he's the new reformer. So in the meantime, they had an attorney general in Ukraine who was also a Russian puppet, and he was also in the pocket of Burisma. Sound familiar? And Burisma was up to all kinds of shenanigans. Corruption in Ukraine was almost, those two words were almost synonymous. It was a mess. the non-communist world was very concerned about it. So they were asking Zelensky, this new reformer, to do something about it, and the first thing they wanted him to do was get rid of this attorney general so that Burisma, which was always up to no good, could properly be investigated. And the Obama administration was taking the lead in that, but they were joined in that by everybody in NATO, by all of the members of the, all of our allies in trade and everything else, because they knew this guy was holding back Ukraine's ability to actually enter into the community of trading nations in the world and be an honest person and in a country that they could accept. So they had to get rid of this guy. And of course, Burisma didn't want to get rid of this guy because he was their boy, and he was shielding them from any investigation by the government. So Obama tasked Joe Biden with being the guy to go to Zelensky and say, "You got to get rid of this guy. He's no damn good, and I can tell you right now, there's a lot of American aid that should be coming your way that it won't be if he's in power. And it's not just American foreign aid either. It's also England, it's France, it's Germany, it's all of our allies. We all want you to get rid of this guy, or we can't do business with you. You're a breath of fresh air. Finally got rid of that Russian puppet, and we'd all want to support you, but we can't as long as you've got that character there." So the guys at Burisma, not being fools, these guys have to be Republicans at Burisma. They just have to be. I'll look into that. So they said, well, here's what we'll do. We know that Joe Biden's son, Hunter, is, there's a technical Latin term, sleazebag. He's sleazy, this guy. And he's a drug addict, which he thinks is a defense to everything, meaning he sniffs cocaine so he can go commit murder because, hey, I'm a recovering addict. So let's go to this guy, this Biden character, and we'll put him on our board of directors, and then the vice president of the United States will not be able to do or say anything because he will have to deal with his son. So they went to Hunter and said, "Hey, Hunter, how would you like to be on our board of directors?" And he says, "Really? Wow." He says, "Yeah, I knew you knew I was good-looking, smart, suave, and a cocaine addict, so why wouldn't you want me on your board of directors? But, I'm honored for you guys for having the good sense to suggest that I should be on your board. I readily accept. How much does it pay?" Yeah, yeah, there you go. That's good. Okay, it's a deal. We're partners. I'll see you soon, pals. Oh, these are my new best friends. So Burisma says, "Hey, we got Hunter Biden on here. We don't have to worry about that Attorney General being fired. He's still going to be our friend because now Joe Biden looks for us." And to their amazement and chagrin, Joe Biden didn't play ball. Joe Biden, according to him, didn't know anything about this arrangement with Hunter, and I believe him. There's no reason not to. He went right back to Zelensky and says, "Listen, I'm telling you right now, that guy's got to be gone by Thursday, or our deals are off." And by Thursday, the guy was gone. And the guys at Burisma are saying, "Well, what about our investment? We hired we invested in the brand." Yes, that's it. Yes, the brand. That's the latest great word for the Republicans now is the brand. We've got the brand. We've got the brand. The Biden brand. What? Joe Biden is a traitor to our cause. So that's how this whole thing came about. Joe Biden never did a damn thing for Burisma. There's not a shred of evidence that he ever did anything other than try to get rid of the Attorney General who was running interference for Burisma. Got a new guy in there who went after Burisma big time. And all of these things, it was on the up and up. Biden did the right thing all the way along the line. He is not his son. His son clearly was doing everything he could to try to make these people think that he and his dad were just like this, and they were two peas in a pod, and they were whatever was good for Hunter would also be good for Joe, and vice versa. That just wasn't the case. This kid was just using his old man. And boy, I wonder if you ever seen siblings use the presidency of their father other than say, I don't know, trademarks in China. How long had Ivanka Trump been working for the administration when she popped over to China and got all of her trademarks allowed immediately, which is not that easy to do in China. I know, I've tried it. And it's like I didn't hear all these Republicans at the time saying, "Wow, that's really fishy. Oh, that's really no good. Why, she's over there using her old man's name. She wasn't just her dad's name. She was part of the administration." Last time I looked, Hunter Biden's not part of this administration. He's barely part of the family. So it's like that's what's going on. That's the background story on this whole thing. So this nonsense about trying to tie Joe Biden into taking payoffs to provide favors for Burisma is just exactly the opposite. One, he never got any money, and two, he didn't do anything with Burisma. What he did was he went after them successfully. You know, Hunter Biden and his brand, the salesman, et cetera, to the contrary notwithstanding, Joe Biden did the right thing, and it's driving these Republicans crazy. So they just go out and throw out all this crap out there, and just because they know that's what their audience wants to hear. These people at Fox are complete cynics, as are most Republicans. They know damn good and well the things they're saying about Joe Biden are nonsense, as is this chairman of this so-called committee that's looking into this, the Oversight Committee. So, but that's life in the big city. It's one of the reasons we're so divided as a country. It's a shame, but you know what I always try to do as a lawyer, still try to do, is I try to work closely with opposing counsel. Look, wherever we can agree, I try to agree and work together closely when I can on discovery and everything else. But if at the end of the day, it looks like we're not going to be able to settle the case or resolve the case on any kind of reasonable grounds, then I just go beat the crap out of them. I'm sorry, that's just who I am. I'm not proud of it. Well, I guess I should be ashamed of myself, but I'm not.